So, Matthew 5, there's the Bible. And here we're playing BBC Radio 3, classical, very good quality music. And I'm doing that to just get the atmosphere for Matthew chapter 5, the famous Beatitudes, where you have to think or read between the lines, that is, think what Jesus is saying that are not in the words, beyond the words. Thank you very much. So I'll turn it down slowly. So that's the BBC. So now, oh, this should be okay. Here's a nice from my wife. She got from the Cook Islands, a nice painted box, and my Halloween skull with a candle in it. I won't light it this time because we'll run out of time completely. And so Matthew chapter 5, a really well known piece of writing, and it's so that's the internet making noises, distracting us. It's all about our attitude to life. Sorry, I get a bit cold when I'm recovering from being really tired from a labour-intensive job that I have that I got to do to pay the bills. As simple as paying, having a wage to be able to maintain sustenance, and shelter, basic things. So I'm a bit tired. But here we go. I love the Bible and I love God because Jesus is my saviour and the saviour of all those who believe in him. And also St. Paul says he's the saviour of the world. And Jesus said himself, or he described that all good people, as we'll find out in this chapter 5, all good people know Jesus in their heart. That is Jesus up above us in heaven with God. It's about being a holy person. And if you're a holy person, a good person, you know what it is to be good. You know what it is to be to know Jesus theoretically. So he says, he describes knowing Jesus as a theoretical thing, knowing himself, Jesus as a person. Jesus himself said it's a theoretical thing, but it's a real thing, isn't it? As you and I know, being a good person, it means a lot to us. So it is real, even though it's theoretical. It's invisible. It's one of the values that we have. Values being things what they call the fruits of the Spirit, things that are kind, good, faithful, loving, trustworthy, and finally self-controlled as well, which is it's very close to being a physical thing, but it's saying the attitude of controlling your physical life, and that's also a value. It's something invisible. It's the attitude of self-control. So Matthew 5, and seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain. And so loads of people following him, multitudes, is loads of people because he was doing miracles. So lots of sicknesses like epilepsy even, he healed that. Or people who were constantly angry, he just by his presence, they say he healed that problem. But they have traditional descriptions because it's an ancient book of those, so they would call it an evil spirit rather than anger problems. Okay, So, and seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him. Disciples, so that's where the word discipline comes from. It's simply a learner, an apprentice, someone who's learning the discipline of a skill. And this skill is actually knowledge, ability in the values of God, in those good things I was talking about just a second ago. Those good things I mentioned, those are disciplines. And so if you learn them, or you are learning them, you are a disciple. You are becoming disciplined. And Jesus is their teacher. So then, this is Jesus. Then he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, so the first beatitude is in verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So if you are really being a good person, you end up being self-sacrificial. Like you can see in my tone of voice, I'm caring about you, and so I'm being self-sacrificial, and so that's giving my spirit to you, and I'm becoming poorer in spirit. And then the kingdom of heaven comes down from above to me, and I feel good about doing this job. So blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So that is verse 3. That's the first message. So it's reading between the lines. That it's only by experience and knowledge of the Bible that you know that that's the true meaning of it. And that brought across by the teacher, which is handed down over the thousands of years, and now that's why I enjoy being a teacher to you. If you know, and you are a disciple now. So this is a wonderful thing. The next sentence is, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. So that's for those who've had a death, a bereavement. My mum died a month ago, so this sentence promises from Jesus that I'll be comforted by God. I'll feel a feeling of spiritually of comfort, because I'm upset that my mother died. And if you had a friend that died, anything like that, and that's for you, between you and God, like it is here between me and God. We can't do any psychological stuff. I don't do any counselling. I can't do any counselling unless there's a conversation between us. There's not. I don't have any training or skill or experience in counselling or therapy, only in teaching or in relationship therapy. I don't have any skill or experience in that, only in teaching the spiritual life, really, of Christianity. And I'm only a learner at that. So, but I'm a beginner teacher. So next verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So this is the favourite one of everybody, because everyone wants to get more and more material stuff, a bigger sofa, you know, that I'm sat on a bigger house and car, a better job. So blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So you see what I mean? You'll inherit something, you know, the whole earth from God if you are meek. What does meek mean? Everyone thinks of Mary being gentle and quiet and obeying what Joseph asks her to do, and that's really the same. What asks whether even if we're a man, to be kind and willing to listen and do what people ask you to do. If someone says to me, "Could you make me a cup of tea?" Okay, yeah, I'll make you a cup of tea, and it's being tough enough to be meek no matter what, and that'll see you through a lot of difficulties at work where you just say, they call it thick-skinned, you know, like whatever someone shouts at you, or if they say do this now, your skin is so thick that it doesn't get through your skin into your body. You just say no, yeah, all right, I'll do it, and you speak even more confidently than they spoke to you, but with kindness, and that will give you strong amount of honor, and you will inherit a good position in your workplace, as I do. Okay, so blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Verse 6, next one. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. So you want to be righteous, that is, you know what is right. You don't want to not be sure what the right thing is in your morals in the world. And so if you hunger and thirst, it's basically learning, like going to a library and studying. You need to study the world around you to know what is right and wrong. Hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. So that's an important one. So you know what's right and what is wrong. So you know what the difference between right and wrong, and how to choose right, how to find right and choose it by hungering and thirsting for it. So you're really wanting to find out what is right. That's how you find out what is right. It's as simple as that. So if you want to know what is right in the world, you need to really try hard, and then you'll know. So I repeat again finally, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. And then next one, verse 7, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy for themselves. So if you're merciful, that is compassionate to others in need. If there's a sick lamb, you'll care for it. If there's a sick human person, you'll care for them, and then God will give you in your life some mercy when you're sick. And people aren't just going to laugh at you when you say, I'm ill, I can't go to work, and they might say, no, you're not, you come into work now. If you haven't been kind to others, perhaps, but those things don't generally happen directly. Like in mathematics, there's a relationship going on between us and God, and us and like you and I, but those in your own groups, social groups, and my social groups, there's a dynamic that's not direct, but often it's a little bit direct. Sometimes it's direct, most of the times it's indirect. So these are overall things that God promises overall will happen. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. It's more about reputation, I would say. If you've got a good reputation, then people will treat you with good behaviors, because they give what they expect from you. They'll give to you what they expect from you. So that's good. So blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So a pure-hearted person is someone who's so lovely, but not always. It could be someone who's laughs a lot and who's always happy. And they say you wear a heart on your sleeve, so they're just open and honest all the time, showing who they are in a genuine way. And people in this area in Halifax, where I live in West Yorkshire, they say you're an honest person to me, because they think I'm pure-hearted, and I think I try to be. And as I say, that's me trying to have righteousness of a pure heart. And shall see God. Well, I don't know. For me, seeing God on earth while I'm in a human body before we die and go to heaven, it is simply seeing things around us as either, if you don't see God, you just see everything as bad and ugly, which sometimes I feel depressed about. In the town centre, things look so, or on the road when I'm queuing up at a particular traffic lights, it just all looks ugly. But most of the time I think of things as I can see the beauty in things, whether it's an old pattern, an old Scottish pattern. Or I've got a few old things I don't want to show you, but this is maybe a powerful CD from a very young crazy Christian artist with a cat looking evil even though he's very good. Or a classic new Bible from Cambridge University. It's beautiful. So it's, for me, that's, if you see, once someone said a spider web with dew on it when you go for a morning walk is beautiful. Or once there's canals, I used to cycle and the mist on the canal is beautiful early in the morning. Often mornings are lovely, the sunrise. So that's seeing God for me as a human. But as the spirit of the words suggest, there's more to it. There's seeing God, seeing goodness in all behaviours and everything. It's seeing goodness in the world is seeing God, and you see that more and more if you're pure-hearted. So that's something to aim at. But you become vulnerable when you're pure-hearted, so you can't be that very often in a tough world. If you look at the news, how evil the world is, and how much my work in manual labour, there's a lot of bullying. If you're not careful and respectful and respectable, then you'll not survive long, especially if you're pure-hearted. So it's a tough one. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Verse 9. This is the last command, and they're gentle commands. Hence, I played the gentle, very high-quality music, and they're very high-quality commands. The last command is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. And that's pretty obvious what that means. And leave that to you to think and work out what it means, especially in the time now where we're worried about Donald Trump and Russian President Putin and the USA, Donald Trump, making sure that they keep peace on earth. Because they have an oppressive military leader in President Putin, and then a business philanthropist in Donald Trump, and he's trying to stop the war because the war uses up all the money, so it stops his philanthropy. But we're all hoping for peace, so it's an important thing at the moment. And if we make peace in the world, we're called the Son of God, which is a pretty powerful statement, a really good statement to have called about yourself or myself. Yeah. So I'll try harder, if you will, to be a peacemaker. And then the last one is more a warning than a command, and it's a warning that because it's a challenge that's really too hard for someone who is just starting out on the Christian faith, but it's something that eventually we can develop an ability and a strength to be able to do. So that's the last one. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So it's really that doing right and ending up being a sacrifice where people are angry with you, like a politician is often. A good politician can be harmed by bad people for standing up for good, and it just repeats that really again, because it's so difficult in the next verse 11. Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. That's for Jesus' sake. It's Jesus, the holy hero from God and the saviour of the world. If you know how he fooled death, he fooled death by dying a righteous man and coming back to life, killed by bad people. He fooled them all. So rejoice, verse 12, and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. heaven could be all the spiritual world around us now. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So the prophets, a prophet is the name of a holy person in the Old Testament, before Jesus was sent as a miracle to the earth. So the Old Testament is a few thousand years up to the New Testament. So it's a long, long time ago. And now he continues, but with less powerful words. So those Beatitudes are the most powerful words we've just read. And I'll just say one and continue through the next video. So the metaphor for us is this: you are the salt of the earth. Like in the food, salt helps the food taste nice, savory food. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, so if you're not doing those Beatitudes, so you see this reading between the lines. The flavor means between the lines of the Beatitudes. If you lose the knowledge of what's in between the lines, the flavor of the salt, if you lose your knowledge of what's in between the lines, how shall it be seasoned? How shall you get it back? Well, it must be from God. It's obvious. So then, and that's me reading between the lines here again. So it is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. So this is a good place to leave it, hanging on the edge to want to know more for next time. So we'll think about next time what is in between the lines of the Beatitudes, and that salt in food that he symbolises as us Christians. What are those things in between the lines that we need, and what we need to keep, what we desire to keep, those good things, like blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That's something that we want to keep, and all the other ones like mercy and righteousness. Okay, bye for now.